Hello and welcome to another episode of Damn Interesting Week. We are so glad you've decided to join us. My name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And this was a damn interesting week. So let's get started with our first link.
First link.
Y'all, if we didn't really understand just how much history we're living through right now, maybe AP News can hammer it home. Lords a-leavin'. Britain is ejecting hereditary nobles from Parliament after 700 years.
Wow.
Yay. So that's not I was expecting all right, tell me how
bad
awful.
news.
What,
Yeah.
what else is awful today that I missed?
It's always a mixed bag. And if you needed some proof that history can also move slowly, well, here it is. Centuries of British political tradition will end within weeks after Parliament voted to remove hereditary aristocrats from the unelected House of Lords. The House of Lords plays an important role in Britain's parliamentary democracy, scrutinizing legislation passed by the elected House of Commons. But critics have long argued that it is unwieldy and undemocratic. If you've heard the name Peter Mandelson recently, well, he resigned from the Lords in February after revelations about his friendship with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein drew renewed attention to the upper chamber and the problem of Lords behaving badly.
You realize you just said nude attention.
Yeah, I heard it too.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't sure if you said it or if...
Yeah.
You know what? It was crying to be said.
Right, exactly. I mean, the thing you gotta wonder is that, they realized, it's all of them. The only thing we can do is abolish this at this point. They all have to resign immediately.
Well, it's been happening in stages. So the chamber currently has over 800 members, making it the second largest legislative chamber in the world after China's National People's Congress. And for most of its 700-year history, its membership was composed of noblemen who inherited their seats alongside a smattering of bishops, because what could possibly go wrong there?
Right.
But in the 1950s, these were joined by quote-unquote life peers. These were retired politicians, civic leaders, and other notables appointed by the government who now make up the vast majority of the chamber. So roughly 1 in 10 members are currently hereditary peers. And in 1999, the Labour government of then Prime Minister Tony Blair, remember that name? He evicted most of the 750 hereditary peers, although 92 were allowed to remain temporarily to avoid an aristocrats' rebellion, which sounds like a follow-up to the famous joke that we've all heard referenced.
The aristocrat. Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, this is me showing my absolute ignorance of the British parliamentary system. I thought all the lords in the House of Lords were hereditary. But it's just a small
number of them. They were at one time, and the fact that they had to keep a percentage to avoid an aristocrats' rebellion, this is deeply entrenched cultural power dynamics that this is how long it takes to unwind. Because it was then another 25 years before Prime Minister Keir Starmer's current Labour government introduced legislation to oust the remaining hereditaries. Now, the Lords put up a fight, which forced a compromise that will see an undisclosed number of hereditary members allowed to stay by being recycled into life peers. So, call it a rebrand.
Yeah, all right.
Now, Labour remains committed to eventually replacing the House of Lords with an alternative second chamber that is, quote, more representative of the UK. If past experience is anything to go by, change will come slowly.
Yeah. But it's, you get a few out at a time. It's like the antibiotics can't get everything all at once. You gotta,
It's just a royal flush, as it were, that is sorely needed. You're welcome. All right, next link.
Next link. This comes from The Conversation. The story of the first telephone call. Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you. Hardly momentous words, but their implications were enormous.
Unless he said it in a kind of sotto voce register, come here.
Right.
I want to see you.
They charge $5.95 a minute for those kind of calls, y'all. They can't.
Unlikely, because it was spoken by Scottish-born Alexander Graham Bell in his Boston lab, March 10th, 1876. And they were the first intelligible words to be transmitted electrically through wire from one place to another.
You said he was Scottish.
That's right, exactly. Intelligible. Maybe not. So Thomas Watson, Bell's assistant, received that call only in the next room, but Bell's ambitions ran much further. The 29-year-old, professor of vocal physiology, he came from a family of that. That's what his dad did, too. So Bell had been working on the design of the harmonic telegraph, as he originally called it, for several years. Originally, it was meant as a way of sending numerous telegraphs simultaneously down the same cable. Bell was not the only one to have the idea. The American electrical engineer Elisha Gray was working along similar lines, and both men submitted patent caveats, a notice of their intention to submit a full application. That's kind of what the caveat is. But they did this within an hour of each other on February 14th, 1876. There followed some frantic communication between Bell in Boston and his agents in Washington, D.C. to make sure the applications did not overlap. Bell's patent was finally issued on March 7th. 3 days later, he made history when he spoke those 9 simple words. Gray abandoned his patent, and his future attempts to contest Bell's patent failed in court, and boy, did he try. So the key to the new telephone tech was developing a way of turning the acoustic oscillations generated by human voice into electrical oscillations that could be transmitted through a telegraph cable. Bell and his assistant Watson had already shown that quite complex sounds, such as musical notes, could be transmitted electrically. In 1875, they built a transmitter made of parchment stretched like a tight drum with a piece of magnetized iron attached to it. So sound caused the parchment to vibrate. This in turn made the piece of iron move back and forth between the electromagnet poles, creating an oscillating current, which could then be turned back into sound with a similar apparatus on the other end. This was the tech that Bell patented in 1876, but it wasn't the tech he used in his first demonstration 3 days later. In fact, his words were transmitted using a liquid transmitter filled with acidified water that conducted electricity. This device was similar to the ones Gray had been using. This fact caused some controversy when it later became known, forming part of Gray's attempts to contest Bell's patent. Yeah. Pretty sure Bell did it, and Gray was grasping at straws, but there's some issues there.
Yeah, I mean, there is simultaneous inspiration. Like, they could have both come up with the same idea.
Yeah, but there was some talking back and forth between the patents. There was a drunk patent guy.
This feels like such a, meet cute of a romantic comedy where, the frenemies to lovers dynamic. Did they ever get together?
No, they did not become lovers.
And if they did, it would have been illegal at the time, so we wouldn't hear it.
That's right. So, anyway, it worked. They soon were manufacturing telephone equipment to Bell's design, and 2 years later, they established the International Bell Telephone Company to market the equipment in Europe. In 1885, this would become the American Telephone and Telegraph Company, better known as AT&T. On a more individual level, Bell made a fortune, while his rival Gray has largely been relegated to a footnote in the history of electrical technologies. So that's it. The fun fact about Bell was that his mom was hard of hearing. And then he married, his wife was deaf. And Bell was a big believer that he thought that sign language should not be taught.
Yeah, there's people like that. I mean,
Ableism posing as progress. It happens.
And he didn't think that deaf people should marry other deaf people.
Oh, yeah, okay. So we're going full eugenicist. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the invention of the video phone, I bet if he'd invented that, he'd be like, no, actually, sign language is a really important part of technology.
There you go. There you go.
So, all right. Next link.
Next link.
All right, this next one comes from WGN News, and it's called A Father and Daughter's Obsession with a Series of Peculiar Houses.
Oh.
So the key thing that makes these houses unusual is that they are constructed from top to bottom in porcelain enameled metal. So not just the walls, but the kitchen cabinets, the bathroom countertops, the roof, the floor, everything is made from the kind of coated metal that you might expect to see as like the walls of a gas station, if you can picture that.
These like 1950s houses?
Yes, they are.
Ah.
And it's not an accident because the man who designed these houses, Carl Strandland, did in fact start out building gas stations. And the reason he made the switch, at least temporarily, into the home building market was because after World War II, the government suddenly had all these veterans that they had promised housing to.
Mm-hmm.
So they needed to build a lot of homes very cheaply and efficiently, and they also had this massive infrastructure for making stainless steel for the war that now had very little to do. So Strandland's proposal to build houses as if they were gas stations seemed like a perfect match. What's more, Strandland's company Lustron had fully mastered the concept of modular construction. He offered exactly one floor plan, the pieces were thin and lightweight compared to lumber, and each individual piece was relatively small, and so it could be assembled on site like Lego. And they've got a bunch of pictures of these houses, many of which are still standing all across America, and you can see that the outside looks like a layer of tiles, each about 18 inches square. The roofs also have this tiled waffle texture, and they even have one overhead shot of a Lustron house laid out on the ground in thousands of pieces just before assembly began.
Oh.
And, you may not dig the aesthetics. I don't. But the fact is, if you're looking for an example of they don't make them like they used to, these houses are it. Strandland's tagline was, "A Lustron home defies weather, wear, and time." And these houses have absolutely made good on that promise. Of the roughly 2,500 Lustron homes that were built immediately after the war, many are still standing today in like-new condition, and the ones that were torn down were removed largely because the land became valuable, and the person who owned the lot just didn't want to live in a 1,000-square-foot house that looked like a gas station. And, 2,500 homes might not sound like a lot, but that was over a very short period of time. At their peak, the Lustron factory in Ohio was churning out a dozen complete houses a day, and each one cost just $9,000, which is equivalent to about $100,000 today. So, you start thinking, well, maybe I would live in a metal house for $100,000. Unfortunately, Strandland was, by all accounts, a somewhat aggressive businessman, and he very quickly made enemies in the lumber industry who didn't appreciate this newfangled type of home cutting into their business. So in 1952, just 3 years after they'd begun, some lumber lobbying groups basically convinced the government to end the Lustron contract, and the company wasn't able to garner enough private sales to keep the home building side of the business going. But, like we said, these things were built to last, and as the headline mentions, there is now a father and daughter team named Thomas and Jean Fetters who are documenting the history of these homes and celebrating the community of those who choose to live in them. And they have a few interviews here with current residents who talk about the pros and cons. Like one woman, for example, says she's never once had to paint the house in the 60 years that she's lived there, but also she can't paint it. So like if you're looking for creative interior design, this isn't the place for you. And everything is the same color. Whatever color the house is, like they have a khaki one and a green one, but like your kitchen countertops, everything is the one color of the house.
I'm just thinking of slicey edges everywhere, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's not just that. Like, if you want to hang pictures or curtains, you have to use magnets to hold them up.
Wow.
I mean, that's not so bad, though. Yeah.
Yeah. And, also, you can play a fun game that this woman made up as a kid called Throw Elvis on the Ceiling, where you take little magnet cutouts of Elvis and try to make them stick. Kids will have fun.
Amazing. Well, I mean, can you even have a computer in a place like that?
Oh, I don't know.
Right, does it become like a Faraday
Does it
cage?
just
I
break
don't
them
know.
immediately?
Right, is every wall electrically charged?
Well, it may be that none of them want them because, like, many of the residents like to embrace the retro aesthetic with the rest of the decor as well. So, like, this one woman, Ellie Quintana, she watches TV on this 1950s black and white television. She's got vintage furniture, and she's interesting. She's even put up old-fashioned family photos that do not feature anyone related to her.
Oh, it's like those steampunk people, but she's just in the 1950s?
Yeah, 100%. It has Fallout vibes. I'm not going to lie.
I wonder how much she stays in character. Like, is she just equally racist?
Right.
No.
She's definitely dressed the part, but she didn't say anything racist that I saw. Like I said, aside from the square footage, I guess I can see the appeal, but I think for me, the main deal breaker would be the noise. Because aside from getting cut, like if you had kids in this house running up and down on a metal floor, you just murder them. There's no way.
Oh my gosh.
And everything clangs. Like they're opening and closing cabinets and it's like metal scraping. It's horrible.
But it's porcelain on metal. Doesn't porcelain chip? Is it not given to break?
Or it's some kind of chemical that we don't know what it's doing to them yet.
Right, exactly. Okay. It's Teflon is what it is. It's a whole Teflon house. Next link?
Next link. From Cymex, magic mushroom's closest wild relative discovered in Africa.
Oh.
So in a paper published in the journal Proceedings B of the Royal Society, which begs the question, what's in Proceedings A? They describe the discovery of a new species of magic mushroom. I'm going to give this a try. Psilocybe ochraciocentrata.
Oh, I thought you meant you were going to give the mushroom a try.
I meant the pronunciation, but it's a brave new world out there. If I can help research, so be it.
That's right. It's for science. Come on.
That's right. It's definitely for science. They found this magic mushroom in the grasslands of South Africa and Zimbabwe. It's named ochraciocentrata because of the ochre yellow color at the center of the mushroom cap. And it last shared a common ancestor with Psilocybe cubensis about 1.5 million years ago, which is a big deal because this is contrary to the prevailing view that Psilocybe cubensis was inadvertently introduced to the Americas when cattle were introduced to the continents from Africa and Europe in the 1500s. Psilocybe cubensis was first described from Cuba in 1906. But mycologist and PhD student Brayton Vandermeer says even though the two species look similar, they have different genetic, ecological, and chemical traits. He's one of the co-authors on the paper, and he says the findings shed new light on the wild origins of domesticated Psilocybe cubensis and provide new genetic resources for research on psychedelic mushrooms. So Psilocybe ochraciocentrata has been cultivated around the world for many years under the name NSS, which sounds like a Star Trek ship, but really stands for natal superstrength, or Trans-K is another name that it's gone by. And it's one of the most popular strains of magic mushrooms because it's quite potent and easy to grow. But until this study, nobody realized it was a totally separate species from the classic Psilocybe cubensis magic mushroom.
Oh, okay.
The team suggests several possible scenarios for when and how the species diverged so many millions of years ago. So around this time, grasslands were diversifying in South Africa, and the grazing herbivores, which provide food for these mushrooms to grow on, were expanding out of Africa and into Eurasia. So it's speculated that these ecological changes opened niches for the separate speciation of cubensis and ochraciocentrata. But in the meantime, quote, we plan to characterize and isolate the various compounds these plants and mushrooms produce, and then to test them against models for post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and depression. Couldn't come soon enough, fellas. Let's go.
Yeah. I'm always fascinated by the distinction between something growing wild versus not. Because, like, if I plant some stuff in my backyard and then I die and I just stop taking care of it, at some point it's wild. Yeah. But then also, like, maybe this was growing and some guy was like, no, I didn't grow that. You definitely can't pin this on me.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a lot like the native plant versus invasive plant distinction, which is so context dependent. Like, if a plant came here before written records, but was not natively from here, but established so well here that once we had written records, it seemed like it was a native.
Right. Yeah.
Or is it like apples where, like, they don't look anything like the original apple because we've cultivated it through so many years?
Right. Well, or like if it can't survive without our help, clearly that's not wild.
Right.
But it gets very gray or ochre, maybe. I don't know.
Or multicolored that you can actually taste, man.
Right. Gray is the least of your concerns.
Next link?
Next link. This one comes from Smithsonian Magazine. The sweat of tourists has covered Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel fresco in a white film.
Ew.
Now the Last Judgment is getting a much-needed cleaning.
Wait, it's the ceiling, though. How does sweat...
Is it like a cloud of sweat coming off us at all times?
Like Pigpen? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it is. That sounds like exactly what's happening. We're not crawling around up there wiping our sweaty armpits on it.
I think that's how dogs see us. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so... in the 5 centuries since Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel, millions of visitors have marveled at his work. Unfortunately, their sweat also coated the walls with microparticles, damaging the mural over time. So the Last Judgment, which depicts the second coming of Christ and God's final judgment, was last cleaned in 1994. Since then, white patches have appeared on the artwork. So what is this? This buildup is caused by microparticles that circulate in the air inside the chapel and through the airflows of the purification system. And then over the years, lactic acid from human sweat has combined with the calcium in the plaster walls. The result is calcium lactate, a white salt that has accumulated on the fresco.
Because I was trying to figure out, why isn't there sweat residue on everything? Like, what makes the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel different from the rest of my house, which has been cleaned since 1994, maybe? Like, but it's a chemical reaction.
A little bit. And I don't think you have as many people coming into your house.
It's fair enough. I'm antisocial. You don't have to rub it in. That's fine.
I don't think any of us are as social. But the worst of the stains are distinct white blotches on the upper portion of the Last Judgment near the ceiling. Fabrizio Bifarelli, head of the Renaissance art at the Vatican Museum, tells the Times that, quote, "This wall is a cold..." Oh, sorry, I won't do that. My grandmother is Italian, so I feel okay doing that. But all right, this wall is colder than the others, hence more condensation.
Oh, okay.
So the Sistine Chapel will remain open to visitors during the fresco's restoration, which is expected to take about 3 months. Experts will clean the mural behind a screen featuring the full-size reproduction of the Last Judgment.
Just put a fake one over it.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
That's funny.
So to clear the buildup from the mural, restorers are using washi paper, which is made from plant fibers. After applying the sheets of washi paper to the fresco, they brush them with demineralized water. The water moistens the salt, which adheres to the paper. The salt comes off with the paper.
Yeah, just peel and stick. All right.
In recent years, officials have allowed only 24,000 visitors a day to see the Sistine Chapel. So I don't think you have that many people coming into your house.
They're limiting themselves. They can have more than 24K if they wanted.
But despite this limit, the salt stains could reappear in just a few decades, prompting additional restorations.
I mean, at some point, you just put the fake picture over the whole ceiling and just don't worry about it.
Maybe they should consider like a previewing baptism log ride, like to shove so many people through there. Like, you know how when you go to like Japanese soak spas, you have to like actually shower before you go in?
Right. You get like at the pool, you have to rinse off before you enter the chapel.
But like jazz it up so it's like a log ride and take your picture and then you get to see it.
Right. I mean, I think the most important historical accuracy thing to do is to make all of the cleaners lay on their backs as well and be very grumpy about it. And like, that's the only way to do it.
Right. Take them off of another job that they were doing that they wanted to do.
Right, exactly.
Just authentic.
Make them miserable. They're like, I'm a curator, not a cleaner.
Next link.
Next link.
All right, I've got a quick one here from 404 Media called Alien Life Might Exist on the Starless Moons of Rogue Planets. And just in case I didn't emphasize it enough, the word might is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that headline, in that we have no evidence of this. We've just demonstrated that it could theoretically happen. But it is nonetheless kind of impressive that it could theoretically happen, because rogue planets are planets that have been ejected from their local solar system. Maybe due to an impact, or maybe their orbit got too elliptical and they just couldn't manage to pull back in from that last swing. But either way, these planets are now flying across space as free agents. And just a side note here, I didn't understand what the difference was between a rogue planet and a plain asteroid. And I tried to look it up, and I ended up going down this rabbit hole because it turns out this is a surprisingly controversial question.
Oh.
And in fact, some astronomers don't even consider Mars and Mercury to be proper planets, which completely blew my mind. But the non-comprehensive answer, if you want to avoid getting into an argument, is mainly size. If it's small, it's probably an asteroid, and if it's large, it's probably a rogue planet. Probably. The point is, we do know for sure that rogue planets exist, and that there are likely trillions of them in the Milky Way alone. What we don't know, but we think is reasonably likely, is that some of those rogue planets might have exomoons, which are just regular moons that they took with them and managed to keep in their orbit even after they went rogue. Astronomers have also theorized that a rogue planet could potentially have life on it, at least on a microscopic level, because while it doesn't have a star anymore to provide heat, it can actually take a long time for a planet to fully cool down depending on its size and the thickness of its atmosphere. So it could be traveling through space in the process of dying but not dead yet for potentially millions of years. And now, researchers at the Max Planck Institute for Extraterrestrial Physics have demonstrated that, in fact, these exomoons, if they exist, could also potentially harbor life in the throes of death. And part of this is because it could have had life to begin with, right? The exomoon could have also had liquid water and the conditions for life before the pair were ejected from the star system. But more interestingly, one of the things that we think would happen to an exomoon, again, if any exist, because we've never proven one does, but when that moon was going around its planet within the star system, its orbit was being affected by both the planet and the central star. And when the planet goes rogue and the moon goes with it, the exomoon's orbit is expected to become significantly more elliptical for reasons of physics that I don't understand. And a more elliptical orbit of the moon will produce stronger tidal forces on the planet, which will, they say, generate more heat on the planet below, which will radiate outward and keep the moon warmer for a longer period of time as well. Long story short, the right combination of tidal forces and atmospheric components could, quote, create favorable conditions for RNA polymerization and thus support the emergence of life as opposed to just the maintenance of it. Which would be very depressing, right? For life to form in a place where it's definitely gonna die very soon.
Yeah, but soon on the cosmic level, Earth is gonna die soon.
Right, that's true, that's true. It's just as depressing to be living here, you're right. And also, if this does happen, if it has happened, are we going to be able to tell? Definitely not, at least not within our lifetimes. Because these rogue planets, like, they're fully outside of our solar system. They're all very far away. Our detection of them is basically from microlensing. We can tell the shift in light from the gravity of these planets that we can't see, but we think they're there. But it is actually quite conceivable that we could find and prove the existence of an exomoon within the relatively near future. And if we do, we now know that we can't rule out the possibility of life upon it.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, with the numbers
right,
that
exactly.
you have, it's just the probability is gonna be there.
And, you know, again, we wouldn't even want to go to these planets because they don't have a star. There's nothing. I mean, maybe you could mine them for minerals. You could probably find something to exploit on them. I don't know what I'm saying.
If there's the spark of life, that might be worth it.
Yeah, we like exploiting life all the time. We're really good at it.
That's true. We got options. Next link.
Next link. Okay, from Science Alert. We finally know how bumblebee queens can survive underwater for days.
Oh, what?
I don't want to know how.
I didn't know we knew that, so okay.
Me neither. It's kind of amazing. Like, hats off to the bumblebee. But you can be excused for not knowing this because the discovery that bumblebee queens could emerge unscathed after more than a week submerged in water, well, it stunned scientists back in 2024. So...
Oh, so we only recently learned about it. Okay.
Yes.
When they were trying to kill it, but they couldn't because it wouldn't drown. Yeah, that's
right.
what I was...
The bee's a witch.
Oh, no. Well, it's not magic because science has now figured out how they do it because included in the bumblebee survival toolkit is the remarkable ability to extract oxygen from the water around them.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a skill set that can help the heart of a colony weather a crisis like a flooded burrow, allowing her to survive and rebuild when conditions are more stable. So every winter, some insect species hibernate in a period of suspended development and metabolism known as a diapause. So for some bumblebee queens, that means finding a safe, snug burrow, nestling in and, hitting the proverbial snooze button. But these burrows do not always remain safe and snug. Weather events like heavy rain, snowmelt, rising water tables, these can all inundate a bee burrow. Not necessarily regularly, but certainly unpredictably. And with enough risk that at least one North American species, Bombus impatiens, appears to have adapted, like the rapper of bees. I love it so much.
Yeah. That was my nickname in high school. I didn't tell you all that.
So in 2024, scientists revealed that bee impatiens queens have a high rate of survival after up to a week submerged in water, around 90%. Now we finally get to figure out how they did it. It's a combination of underwater respiration, anaerobic metabolism, and what they're calling profound metabolic depression. So, I hate how they had to figure this out, but in laboratory experiments on dozens of queens in winter diapause, researchers submerged the bumblebees in cold water and monitored their metabolism and gas exchange. Carbon dioxide rose minutely while oxygen levels fell. And this is consistent with respiration. The bees were taking in oxygen from the water and expelling carbon dioxide. But meanwhile, submerged bees, they display a buildup of lactate. So when the body can't get enough oxygen, cells switch to a metabolic process that generates energy without oxygen, and lactate is a byproduct of this anaerobic metabolism. Finally, that metabolism is pushed to the bare minimum required for survival. So diapause already slashes a queen's metabolism by over 95%. Submersion slashes it even further. So together, these processes allow the queens to take in oxygen from the water around them while keeping their energy needs extremely low. But there are still some things that we're not completely sure about. They could not ascertain how bee impatiens extract oxygen from the water. They think maybe the queens make use of like a physical gill, like a thin layer of trapped air that exchanges gases with the water, but we have yet to confirm it.
Well, maybe you were right. Maybe the bee is a witch.
Yeah, I mean, anything that can go into super double coma mode.
Yeah.
And like, so they don't know the limit or they do know the limit? 8 days.
They don't know, and I don't know how much they're going to push it, and I kind of wish they wouldn't, but hopefully they do have future studies manipulating water conditions and the likely physical gill, which is kind of their going theory, alongside what they call detailed recovery analysis. I'm hoping that's bee-oriented CPR. Hopefully that will clarify the adaptations the enabling queens use to withstand extended submersion, so we'll see.
I'm sorry. I'm just picturing bees doing tiny CPR on each other. And it's, it's so cute.
It's life affirming, dang it.
Yeah.
Next link?
Next link. Okay, so this also comes from the Smithsonian Magazine. The iconic house from the Brady Bunch is now an official historic landmark in Los Angeles.
Oh, finally.
Finally. So it's an unassuming mid-century house in Los Angeles featuring tan siding, stonework, and blue double doors. But for fans of the Brady Bunch, it's an icon. The home's exterior was frequently featured on the family sitcom, which aired from 1969 to 1974. And for me, heavily syndicated in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Now, the house is an official LA landmark. On March 4th, the LA City Council voted unanimously to add the house to the city's list of historic cultural monuments. Located on Dilling Street in LA's Studio City neighborhood, the house was designed by architect Harry M. Lindolius and built in 1959. The theme song sums up the show's premise. It's a song we can't afford yet.
Right. We can't sing it because we can't pay the licensing on it.
Well, we can there because that was done in jest. So we get parody. We get parody on that. So the Brady Bunch's house is the physical representation of a TV show that exemplified how loving relationships can develop in blending families.
Yeah, weirdly, I happen to know they were either one of the first or the first show that put a married couple in the same bed on camera.
Whoa.
Yeah, prior to that, you know, like Mr. Ed or some of the older shows, he would have 2 twin beds in the bedroom.
Yeah, I Love Lucy.
Yeah, exactly. And this was one of the first ones. I mean, they were, you know, fully pajamaed from neck to toes, and they weren't touching each other, and they were just having a conversation about the kids, but they would put them in the same bed together, and that was very shocking for the time.
And a divorced family living together. Even more shocking. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Even acknowledging. Yeah.
So the pilot showed a different home from the Brady's house exterior. But the second episode, the Dilling Street location served as the family's main residence. However, all of the show's interior shots were filmed in a studio. The Dilling Street house's interior bore no resemblance to the Brady Bunch set.
You mean it was movie magic?
Yeah.
Well, that makes the preservation of the house a lot less interesting.
Wait. That is until 2018 when HGTV purchased the house for $3.5 million and performed a massive renovation. The network produced a 4-part miniseries called A Very Brady Renovation. It featured grown-up Brady Bunch cast members demolishing the home's interior, which Drew and Jonathan Scott, the host of Property Brothers, the twins, then helped refurbish. By the show's conclusion, The structure matched the home seen on television inside and out, like down to pictures on the wall.
Wait, but they had the actors from the Brady Bunch,
Yes.
like Anger Room, the demo, basically.
Yep.
How cathartic that must have been for them, like on a real psychological level.
Yep.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, but HGTV took a loss when it sold the house in 2023 to enthusiast Tina Trahan and her husband Chris Elbrecht, the former chief executive of HBO. They paid $3.2 million for the home and its Brady-themed furnishings. But she wanted the house for its cultural significance, and as she told People's Lizzie Rosenberg, it wasn't exactly livable. None of the appliances worked. Nothing is functional. It's all decorative.
Okay.
And in November, Tehran and her husband opened the house for a limited number of tours, which cost $275. She also submitted an application to the LA Department of City Planning to designate the house as a historical cultural monument.
So there was a mover behind this who said, I own the house and I want this designation. That makes sense.
Yeah, and the officials found the house exemplifies significant contributions to LA's cultural history, both for its status as a filming location and for, quote, its faithful recreation to the fictional Brady home that enshrined the American popular culture.
Yeah, I mean, if I was in LA, I might go, but not for $275.
No, but maybe
not doing that.
Maybe that was before. Maybe now that it's actual. No, I'm gonna guess she's still gonna charge that much. What am I talking about?
Yeah, probably.
Just married to the chief executive of HBO. That's not cheap. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is all we have time for today. We're so glad you've joined us. Some of the articles we did not have time to get to today include scientists successfully harvest chickpeas from moon dirt, lost Doctor Who episodes found in eclectic collection, and Minecraft's uncensored library adds a United States wing. So all that and more, plus everything we talked about today, can be found on damninteresting.com. If you like our podcast and want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/damninterestingweek. In the meantime, my name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And we hope you have a damn interesting week. Bye-bye.